Okay. If you didn't see yesterday's video, because I know people didn't see it, it was last night. Man, what is this from? Yeah, last night, I know it was Friday. People was doing Friday night stuff. Plus, nobody ever knows when we're going live or not. Right? Right now, this is the concoction. This is the concoction I got. Blue Magic, Batana, beets. Right? That's what's contributing to the red color. Right? Blue Magic, Batana, the beets, and then there's all kinds of other goodies in there. There's all kind of other goodies in there. Yeah. You already. Bro. Hey, listen, you talking my language. I listen. Trust me. And I know like half a Nori team. They from my neighborhood. So it definitely need to be up there. Definitely need to be up there, especially with all that coughing and chest banging. Forget about it. Forget about it. But yeah, we gotta go in. Okay, yeah. I know people just catching a live probably this morning, in the middle of the night. I be just trying to get them in because we got a rough schedule. And when I say you, I'm talking to you. Listen, we got a rough schedule, right? Between the lives and me writing the books and then you reading the books and then catching the lives, listen, we don't even have time to play. We don't even have time to play, right? And then you got to try to find some time to actually make sure you're doing your prayers, hit your exercise, get your steps in, go to work, love your husband, love your wife, love your boyfriend, your girlfriend, wrestle with the children. We don't got no time to play. We don't have no time to play. Man, I'm so in love with this book, though. Woo! Let me tell you, we hit a stride. See, listen, I know people looking at that title. I know people looking at the title of the video and they're like, Ancient Egypt Batana oil? What? They like, yo, Inky just putting anything together. They like, yo, Inky just going crazy. He just putting stuff together. Listen, if you have the book, all you got to do, you don't even have to read. Listen, you don't even have to read. All you got to do is open up the book to page 40. If you open up the book to page 40, look, let me see if I can put this on the screen so it'd be clear. Y'all gonna see Inky ain't just making up. Let me see. Boop. Here we go, right there. That ain't me making up nothing. It's just a lot we don't know. It's just a lot we don't know. Right? We missing some stuff. We just missing some stuff. Yeah. They had the palm trees built into the royal courtyards, the pyramids, the walls, the glyphs. The palm tree was that was big bit. That was like a part of the divine. You know what I'm saying? Like that was. And that plays a big part in. I'm not even going to say comedic naturopathy. I'm going to say global, historic, ancestral, like holistic living. Right? We cannot. Here's a problem with the concept of herbs. When people focus in on the herbs as the holistic, like the holistic lifestyle is about herbs. Not only, I could run through a list of things they're forgetting, but the main thing, the trees. You forgetting the trees. Yeah, you forgetting the trees. And the moment you forget the trees, it's a wrap. There is no herbs and roots and all that without the trees. Trees sustain life here. Like, trees sustain life in a variety of ways. That's why trees are always in every divine story, right? It's a Garden of Eden, but the most important thing in the Garden of Eden, right? You got Adam, you got Eve, you got God, you got the quote unquote snake, and you got the trees. Like, yeah, the trees. We forget the trees. right? So we gotta listen. Listen, it's good that you go ahead and get sick. It's good that you go on ahead and get sick. Don't think like that. Yeah, it's good that you're going ahead and get sick because remember, the flu and the cold are something that we don't know what it is. There's literally hundreds of thousands into the millions of viruses that cause colds and flus. There are familiar virus families and cold families. Some of them overlap, right? That cause cold, flu, and rhinovirus and all of these different things. But you don't know what those is. You don't know what those is. And I've lived through enough of these, starting with swine flu all the way up to the pandemic, to know that they always start out with just a few folks with a cold or a few folks with the flu, right? And nothing beats natural prep. And when I say natural prep, I mean actually getting sick. Yeah, actually getting sick. Boop. Yeah, so if it's floating around, go ahead. Yeah. Whoop, let me get that. Take me a day, 2 days, 3 days, whatever. Boop, boop, boop. Back to normal. Now you loaded. Memory T cells, B cells, macrophages. Everybody is on deck now with their sword out. They got the description of the virus, the wanted poster. You know what I'm saying? If he should pop back up, they already know what to do with him. Yeah, your body is ready now. Yeah. You get sick, just be happy to get that out the way. Boop. Yeah. You got that out the way. Now you good. Because there is something floating around. There's something floating around. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully it's just some seasonal, because that time of the year, right? Seasonal changes. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully it's just that, right? But I want y'all to have I really want y'all to watch that last video. I forgot what I wound up naming the video. What I named it? Mitochondria verse Charles Darwin. Right? Okay. So we're going to get into this, and we might not come back around to this for a minute. So I want people to just know at the outset, like, we're not trolling, we're not making up stuff. Right? The title of the video is the title of the video for a reason. Okay. Introduction. In the skin and heart, mitochondria depend on melanin. Throughout the rest of the body, opsins are the primary pigments that mitochondria rely on. Respiration is incomplete without discussing respiratory proteins. Holistic health used to dominate YouTube. Okay, we'll skip that. All right, so I did kind of wanna, shoulda, woulda, coulda, right? It's probably important just for like feng shui purposes. Just for feng shui purposes, right? Like get an idea where we at. Because I know some folks falling behind and we be moving. We be like that. We like, no, listen. When it comes to the information, we like Usain Bolt combined with David Goggins. Yo, can you imagine Usain Bolt combined with David Goggins? That's how we be. That's how we be moving, right? We got the speed of Usain Bolt with the endurance and determination of David Goggins. That's how we moving out here. Yo, folks be hitting me up like, yo, Ink, I just missed like 2 weeks and I feel like I'm behind like 25 books. Oh my goodness. It's not me. It's God. It's God. It is God. It's God working. Right? Okay, so here's where we was at. Right? Here's where we was at. We went Jed Pillar. Right? We went Jed Pillar. Right? We went Jed Pillar. And from Jed Pillar, we went into a few different directions. We went neurochemistry. Right? Oh, you funny. So you done set up a whole station now. So now you got a miniature office outside my office. Yo, this girl is ridiculous. All right, so we went neurochemistry, right? And then we tapped into a couple of things from neurochemistry. We kind of went into the dope game, like the painkillers, right? So we'll just say back pain, right? We kind of went into back pain, right? But as the overall solution, right, what we really went was to respiration, right? We went to respiration, right? And so in the respiration space, we went nerves, we went vessels, right? And then we pulled that, right? We did it like that. Right? So we went vessels, nerves, right? And that's kind of how we got where we at. Just so that I want y'all to see that we're not, because we out here looking like Usain Bolt mixed with David Goggins. We like a hybrid with the information. You know what I'm saying? I want people to like, because if you just look at the titles of some of the videos, you'd be off. Like you'd be like, yo, what? How in the comedic naturopathy is this? Like how we get here, right? how did we get here, right? So last night's video was a roundabout. Yeah, it was a roundabout griot style discussion on mitochondria, right? It didn't start off that way, right? But that was the main point of the conversation, right? Even though we kind of, we walked around and we talked about Darwin and some other stuff and blah, 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 blah. We have to talk about Darwin every so often because Darwin is like the ops still. Darwin is still the ops. Yo, do y'all be having like mad foam left in the bottom of y'all, foam and fiber in the bottom of y'all smoothies? I hope y'all don't put this in the sink. I do not put these in the sink like this because this is no more juice. This is foam and fiber. Yeah. I'm getting ready to put the top on that and put that in the fridge, and then that's going to get re-blended into another drink. I'm not getting rid of that. Yeah. If I use the juicer, that would be like some of the pulpy stuff that the juicer gets rid of. But that got a lot of pigments and fibers mixed in there. You don't get rid of that. That's tons of nutrients right there. Yeah, that's tons of nutrients right there. But anyway, hold on for a second. Yeah. So, I just want people to know, like, the other side of respiration is what's going on inside your cells. And literally, when I keep talking about metabolism being coupled to respiration, metabolism and respiration come together at your mitochondria. Your mitochondria is where metabolism and respiration come together, and is where metabolism and respiration become uncoupled, right? So, yeah, you gotta, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. You gotta go get y'all a hoodie or something, right? But so that's where we at, right? That's where we at. Just in case. And then last night, when we ended the live, before we ended the live, we just kind of threw out the little teaser about Batana oil and vitamin E and how they play a role in the story, right? How they play a role in the story, because that part might seem, right? But particularly, Batana oil works on the membranes of tissues. That's what it does. Membranes of tissues, right? Or at least the vitamin E portion of Batana oil. Batana oil is high in vitamin A and it's high in vitamin E, right? And when you really get an idea of what those two things do, you'll see why, right? Folks was praising palm trees. Right? Folks was praising palm trees. Right? So, without further ado, go and get this, right? If you don't have this book, go to Amazon. Let's see what Amazon got going on. Let's see what Amazon got going on before we go any further. Amazon, what is you doing? Oh, shucks. Yo, Amazon running sales on my books without my permission. Yeah, I got to learn how to work Amazon. I do not know how to work Amazon. I know you're supposed to be able to do like your own sales and stuff like that. I do not know how to do it. And look at this book. They got this book on sale, and I don't even know how to do that. You see? Look at that. They done got the book on sale. That's crazy. That is crazy. Anyway, yeah, there we go. Oh, look at that. Woo! Look at that. #1 new release in physics of electricity. Hold up, let's talk about it. Ooh, let's talk about it. Hey. #1 new release in physics of electricity. Let's talk about it. Ooh, talk that talk. Yeah. Talk that talk. Talk that talk. Listen, JG probably knew. So JG might not know whether to start trolling or start taking the information serious or whatever. You know, who knows? Who knows? Who knows? It's all right. JG will move at his own pace. Because listen, respectfully, we gotta be welcoming the folks that just come in, and it's a lot. It's a lot. My teaching style is definitely kind of like an acquired taste. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not how, like follow the bouncing ball kind of, it's just not. And it's hard, right? So it is, with due respect, it is hard to just jump in, right? It is hard to just jump in, especially if you haven't been, think about it. We got like 100 books on Amazon. So there have been some people with us that have all 100 books that have been studying this whole entire time. Before Amazon, we probably wrote close to 100 books before Amazon. There's people that have been following, like Freddie was one of the first people to type into the chat for this video. Freddie been with us since, first couple of books I wrote. He's been around since then. Yeah, he's been around since then. So, there's people that have been with us for 200 books, for 15 years. And then there's people that just, this might be their second or third video tapping in, right? So it's and then people have different comprehension levels, just naturally. Our brains are in different, speeds, and, we at different places. So JG, welcome to the family. Welcome to the family, sir. Right? Yeah, welcome to the family. You know what I mean? So hopefully, you last, hopefully you stick around. Right? Hopefully you stick around. But I do jump around, because it's like, think of it like my teaching style. I just gave I think that was a pretty good analogy right there. Usain Bolt mixed with David Goggins. That's probably yeah, that's probably like, yeah, Usain Bolt mixed with David Goggins. I think that's the teaching style. So yeah, at the bare minimum, it's hard to keep up, right? Okay. Anyway, so respiratory proteins. That's kind of where I wanted to go in this book, right? Respiratory proteins, the other side of respiration. I wanted to get to the other side of respiration. All right, so page 1, right? Page 1 starts off with an urgent discovery. Urgent discovery. Science in 2015 discovered that mitochondria form an electric power grid in muscle cells fueled by oxygen. That's breaking news. That's super important. And this is kind of why we had that long discussion last night about Darwin and the theory of evolution and abiogenesis and all that foolishness. Because and even though I'm already like Usain Bolt mixed with David Goggins, like I still got to get people to go even faster. So JG, if you reach out your hand, I promise to try to grab your hand and bring you with us as fast as possible. Just reach out. Take, grab my hand or grab somebody else's hand in the chat, and we gonna run as fast as possible with it because folks is behind. Right? So how do those two things come together? Right? Well, the other side of the conversation is that the universe came into existence, life rather came into existence without intelligence, without an intelligent design. That thinking had an expiration date. The expiration date hit like 1999, 10, 9, 8, 2000, like that's gone. All of the new discoveries, all of the new innovations in biochemistry, neurochemistry, and health in general, all are based on different levels of intelligence being explored inside the human body. Organs demonstrating their own coherent intelligence. Tissues, bone, propagation, and various levels of intelligence inside the cell as cell groups, and then coming together as a whole, you know what I'm saying, to function as, greater than the sum of the parts kind of thing. But so that's where, the conversations mesh. That's where the conversations mesh. And we kind of sped through last night, even though it was like a 2-3 hour conversation, we kind of sped through like 100, 200 years of history to just compact it and bring it all the way up to date in terms of the latest cancer research and all of those things, just to get everybody up to date, right? So where we at right now in the book, latest discovery, August 10th, 2015, Science puts out, right? Articles, journals, they start running. Now we know once something comes out in the press, they've been working on it in the lab for who knows how long. So when it drops in 2015, this is something that may have been in the lab. They probably was grinding on it 5 or 10 years to really get to a comfortable space where they like, okay, look, let's go ahead and type this up, sign that at the bottom, put that out. Let's give this to the world, right? Mitochondria are not floating around in the cell haphazardly. Mitochondria are not floating around in cells haphazardly. So this means that mitochondria are coherent to some extent. To a greater or lesser extent, mitochondria are coherent. They're communicating with one another. And they're acting together. They're acting together. They're not like separate little organelles that are floating around in your cell and they're just like doing their own thing, or like little batteries, how we might envision them in our mind. They're not just like little batteries that are just, you know, you got 2,000 of these little batteries floating around. Like in our minds, we kind of envision like a fish tank. Yeah, it's like a little fish tank, and you just got all these little batteries that's floating around inside the fish tank separately, and they're just providing energy to the cell, right? That's not the case. That's not the case, right? They actually communicate, they move coherently, and they connect. They connect, right? So that in of itself is a game changer on a whole bunch of different levels. Starting with, right, the heels of our conversation last night, when you think about metabolism and cellular respiration being the driving mechanism behind cancer. Like, wait a minute. So these guys, there's some form of coherence there. Mitochondria are making a shift towards a different type of respiration. And then that's affecting the cells and the tissues and the blah, 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 blah. So, yo. Ooh. Oh, man. Oh, don't let that dog pee in my grass. Good job. Yo, I keep telling myself I got to remember, get you some signs. I got to get some signs that say, don't let your dog use the bathroom in my grass. I don't do that. I walk my dog in the street, and people in this neighborhood, they be confused. They be like, why do you walk your dog in the street? Because I don't want my dog to pee and shit like on somebody's grass, right? Because then you might come outside the next day barefoot in your grass, getting you a fresh breath of air, and look down and see you done stepped into some, you know what I mean? Like, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I don't. Anyway. 2015, scientists discover mitochondria forms an electric power grid in muscle cells fueled by oxygen, right? So the formation of mitochondria is based on availability of oxygen. Now, obviously, at some point, geometry is going to play a role. We're not even going to get into that, right? No, geometry seems to pop up everywhere, right? Researchers find that mitochondria in muscles not only produce energy, but can quickly distribute it across muscle cells through a grid-like network. The findings reveal a major mechanism for energy distribution in skeletal muscle cells and provide new insights into diseases linked to energy use in muscle. Let me stop right there for the folks in the back. Diseases linked to energy use in muscle cells. That would be every single metabolic disease that we know of. Just in case you might want to know, like, yeah, high blood pressure, diabetes, forget about it. Just all the way, atherosclerosis, right? Arthritis, like you name it, right? And as of lately, cancers are now added to that category, right? So when the conversation is bland and it's just like, oh yeah, oxygen and skeletal muscles, it don't really hit home. When you figure out that they're talking about, you know, Alzheimer's disease and diabetes and this, that, and the other, and, you know, sexual performance and all of these other issues that are more real life issues, right? The information starts to come alive then at that point, right? Skeletal muscles are made of long, thin cells that are packed with highly organized proteins and organelles. During strenuous exercise, the rate of energy use in skeletal muscles can increase by more than 100-fold, almost instantly. To meet this energy demand, muscle cells contain mitochondria. These organelles, commonly referred to as the cell's power plants, convert nutrients into the molecule ATP, which stores energy. In this process, known as cellular respiration or oxidative phosphorylation, the mitochondria act like small cellular batteries using an electric voltage across their membranes as an intermediate energy source to produce ATP. Stop. We're going to double back on a few little pieces here, right? We're on page 1 in the book, right? We're on page 1 in the book. Cellular respiration, oxidative phosphorylation, blah, blah, blah. Small batteries. Okay. Using an electrical voltage across their membranes, right? So whenever you hear the term membranes, right, and electricity, whenever you hear membrane and electricity inside your body, whether it's talking about a nerve, a neuron, a muscle cell, a mitochondria, any of that, I want you to begin to start thinking vitamin E, right? Whenever you hear that, especially if they put together, even if they not put together, even if membrane and electricity is not put together, and you hear bioelectricity, I want you to think vitamin E. If you hear cell membrane, I want you to think vitamin E. Okay. I want you to start getting that in your mind. I want you to get that thought process in your mind. Right. We're going to put some respect on vitamin E. All right. Scientists have long believed that the energy produced by mitochondria is distributed through muscle cells by some type of diffusion mechanism. However, studies have shown that these diffusion pathways alone are not sufficient to support normal muscle contraction. Okay? So, what they mean is, right? When you think of something, right? The moment you think of an action, you got neurons that immediately light up, lightning, literally miniature lightning is going on in your brain. That's going through the brain stem, spine, right? Jet pillar, through the nerves, to the muscles that need to contract in a specific sequence in order for you to facilitate whatever that action is. And that has to happen instantly, right? Even to the point of subconscious movements, like me talking with my hands. I'm not consciously thinking of moving my hands while I'm talking. It's just how I was raised and how what happens. But my brain still has to send the lightning to go for that to facilitate all of these movements at the same time as my conscious mind is deciding what to say. And then more movements have to be sent simultaneously to work my throat, my lungs, and all of that to produce the words and the sounds, right? All of that has to happen. And so what the article is saying is that random diffusion, right? Meaning that the ATP just flies out of the mitochondria's little wiggly body and just goes into the cytoplasm of the cell. And then the cell just kind of catches the energy, however they catch the energy. They're saying that that is not organized enough to power the cells in real time. And it's not efficient enough because there would be energy that would be wasted, right? So they're saying that that's kind of one of the things that led them to the discovery of the structures that mitochondria builds inside your cells. And then once they discovered these structures, the purpose of these structures, right? The purpose of these structures. A team led by Dr. Robert Balaban and Sri Ram from the NIH's National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute and National Cancer Institute, respectively, hypothesized that some other faster, more efficient energy pathway must spread energy through muscle cells. Their research was conducted on the NIH campus in Maryland. Research was published July 30th, 2015 in Nature, right? Not in Nature, in the journal, just, yeah. The group analyzed high-resolution 3D images of skeletal muscle. They used the imaging technique known as focused ion beam scanning electron microscopy. Dr. Dr. S and his team have used this approach, which they developed to determine the structure of many key proteins. The researchers traced the paths of mitochondria and found that they have formed a network or reticulum. They hypothesized that these organelles might form a vast interconnected network in a way that resembles electrical transmission lines in a municipal power grid. If you knew, you don't know. We got secret handshakes and all that. So I'll be doing secret handshakes with the audience. So if you part of the family and you just jumped on board, you might not know the secret handshakes yet. It's all good. Sometimes the secret handshake switches up a little bit. Yeah. We be high fiving and all that through the live stream. You know what I'm saying? Then sometimes I might make a facial expression, and the people that understand, they understand, and then what's understood don't have to be explained kind of vibe. Why is that going off? Right now they got the storm alert going off, so I hope it's not a storm. Internet might get crazy. So this might have to be a long live stream. Because I don't know if y'all can hear that. When that siren go off, that's like the hurricane, tornado, thunderstorm warning, because we live like right on the coastline. Yeah, so there's that. All right, blah, blah, blah. We can skip through. The discovery of this mechanism for rapid distribution of energy throughout the muscle cell will change the way scientists think about muscle function and open up a whole new area to explore in health and disease. Skeletal muscles are made of long fibers packed with many highly organized proteins and organelles. Nestled among the protein machinery responsible for muscle contraction are mitochondria. These globular-shaped organelles provide energy for muscle and also help regulate calcium signals that trigger muscle contraction. Mitochondria undergo constant change. Defective parts are removed and replaced with new ones. That's called mitophagy. Right? Like autophagy for the body, shrink that down. You have mitophagy, right? Controlled by the same mechanism. So when you hear about mitophagy or autophagy taking place, I want you to think in your brain, melanin concentrating hormone, right? Melanin concentrating hormone regulates autophagy and mitophagy, right? And then you got melatonin playing a role, and that's another story, right? So defective parts are removed and replaced with new ones. Mitochondria can repair themselves through a process called mitochondrial fusion, joining with other mitochondria and exchanging material. The mitochondria in muscle, however, were presumed to be fairly isolated with little ability to interact with each other due to the tissue's compact organization. The team at Thomas Jefferson University set out to visualize and measure fusion among mitochondria to better understand their regulation and relevance in disease. The work was funded in part by the NIH, National Institute of Alcohol Abuse. The scientists labeled mitochondria in a small limb muscle, fluorescent tags, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Muscle weakness and fatigue, alcoholism. Okay. Yeah, alcoholism. We're going to have that conversation at some point too. We're going to get, so at some point, this conversation is going to swing into an addiction and alcohol, like all of that's going to become relevant at some point. Not right this second, but just know that those things are on the horizon. So say, for instance, you stop watching here and you pop up in another week or two, right? We might be having that conversation and you won't know how to to is related, right? If you start missing stuff. But if you get the books and you read the books at home, you will not only be able to keep up, but you will be ahead of, because there's not enough time in the day for me to talk about what's inside these books. Like we might do a 3-hour, 6-hour, 12-hour live stream, and I might only go through 30 or 40 pages in a 200, 300, 400 page book. So it's never possible to get all of the information without the books. Like you have to have the books. Okay. Okay, so we have some other discoveries. We have some other discoveries, right? We have some other discoveries that are going to change the game, right? And I just want to put these out there because it's important for us to understand this health landscape as it changes, right? So we know that red blood cells don't have mitochondria, right? We know red blood cells don't have mitochondria. Wait a minute. Let me rephrase that. We should know, right? We should know. And then I know there's some folks in the back, right? They just sneaking into class late, like trying it out. Like you dip your toe in the water in the pool. You know what I'm saying? They like, let me just sit back here and see if this guy with the gold teeth know what he's talking about. Cool. Right? So red blood cells are, in comparison to the rest of your body cells, red blood cells are much more like an ancient type of cell. They're just different, right? So that's the story on red blood cells. They don't have a nucleus. They don't have mitochondria. Like they're their own type of unit, right? Now, the new thing is what they've discovered is that red blood cells don't necessarily have mitochondria, but your bloodstream has mitochondria in it, right? There's mitochondria in your bloodstream, right? So that is an entirely new game changer, right? That's an entirely new game changer because now, remember the definition of tissue, right? Excuse me. Remember the definition of tissue, right? We just got to stretch our minds a little bit to fully see the blood. Do you know what I'm saying? Like as a tissue. But remember, a tissue is a group of cells that's working together for whatever the purpose is. Whatever the purpose is. You got a bunch of cells that are working together. That's a tissue. Now, reason why I say we got to stretch our mind a little bit is because obviously, typically we think of tissues as cells that's connected, right? And so in the human body, one of the things that's changing is that part, right? The idea of what it means to be connected, right? That's what's changing, right? And as that changes, everything around biochemistry and anatomy changes, right? Because we're literally seeing, anatomy was laid out. The human body was mapped out as a bunch of separate parts, right? In correction of the ancient, of the Kemetic philosophy, right? They were the first to map the human body, right? And give you the 22 pathways to the body in Kemet, right? And say that, these pathways talked to one another. They communicated to one another, right? That was too much for the Greco-Roman frats. That was too much for them to handle. They couldn't understand that at the time. So they ridiculed that and then, quote unquote, elevated the science to a place where every group of tissue is separate, right? So you have heart tissue. Heart tissue is separate from liver tissue. And you've got all these different groups of tissues and, bone. And there really isn't communication, right? You just have dead electric signals that, that make something operate. The muscle contracts, it pulls on the bone moves. It's cut and dry. What we're learning now, though, what science is learning, I can't say what we're learning now because we way ahead of the learning curve, but what science is coming around to is the idea that connection between cells and tissues expands out a lot further than we thought, right? And that there is, they're coming to this conclusion slow. It's like pulling teeth, you know what I'm saying? But they're coming to this conclusion that there is cellular intelligence. There's cellular intelligence, right? And once you get to the point where there's cellular intelligence, once you get to the point where mitochondria, which is a subcellular, like you can fit thousands of these inside of a microscopic cell. Your cells are already microscopic, but you can fit thousands of mitochondria in one cell. So these are super, it's quantum level, Once you get to the idea that there's coherence and there's intelligence at that level, all of these other ideas about life not having an intelligent source, like that's been such a hindrance. That's been like a ball and chain on the feet of science, trying to drag along this idea of, intelligence not existing at finer and finer and finer and finer and finer and finer and finer levels or smaller scales, right? And primarily that's because you're comparing humans to monkeys, right? You go, humans, oh yeah, monkeys are dumb. Yeah, so clearly as we scale up, so we don't even have to go too much further because look at this. We look at these mice. Mice is super dumb. Like right? And so right there, we stopped. We explored animals and we let animals be the blueprint for all of existence. And we go, yeah, so intelligence can't exist beyond that. Doesn't even make any sense to go cellular, subcellular, but that's where we are now. All right. So anyway, we highlight the fact that blood now has its own mitochondria, right? The mitochondria are not in the blood cells, but in the blood itself, in the circulation with the blood. And the mitochondria that's floating around in the blood interact with your bone marrow, right? The mitochondria in your blood interact with your bone marrow and help your bone marrow to produce new cells, right? Remember, all of your body's cells, and your body's producing millions of cells a second, right? Millions of cells a second. Red blood cells, white blood cells, you name it. Platelets, all kinds of stuff, right? These mitochondria that's circulating throughout your blood, right? They're a part of the production crew for new blood, right? They're a part of the production crew for new blood. They're also a part of voltage, right? They're also a part of voltage, right? A part of pH, right? A part of homeostasis, a part of your balance, right? So this is big. These are big changes that have happened within the last 10 years to our understanding of anatomy, where the ripple effects, the domino effects haven't even been laid out yet. Right? Haven't even been laid out yet. This is just stuff that game changing stuff that's in the journals, right? So these haven't got into medical schools yet. These haven't got into naturopathic schools yet. So if you have a naturopathic doctor that's been practicing for 20 years, this is not incorporated into what they're doing yet, right? If you have a medical doctor, surgical doctor, they've been practicing for 15, 20, 25. This is not a part of their program yet. If you're looking at, Captain Cock Diesel Buff, Muscle Man on YouTube, right? They have no idea any of this is going on, right? The only thing they can explain to you is why you should fry your eggs to have with your white rice in the morning before you have your first workout, because it's going to drive carbohydrate metabolism, and you're going to get that full-fledged muscle belly. That full muscle belly is going to pop out. So if you got a pose coming up, right? I'm just saying. They on the internet sounding super scientific now. And they don't be saying nothing. Yo, I couldn't believe it. Last night, I was watching this, and I guess I was just, I don't know, half trolling in my mind. You know what I'm saying? But there's a new guy named Sam Sulek. And I'm watching Sam Sulek, and he's like breaking down this whole, like, and to somebody that doesn't know any better, he would sound like he dropping some science, but he's really just talking about how he drank a half a gallon of strawberry milk. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Anyway. All right, so mitochondria driving blood formation, blah, blah, blah. Okay, hold on. Because it's a game changer in here. It's a game changer in here. Hold on. Page 7. Page 7. Yada, 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 yada. Previously, the laboratory provided evidence that mitochondria can dictate cell function or fate independent of ATP production. We established the idea that mitochondria are signaling organelles in the current study. Chandrell's team, including postdoctoral fellow Elena Ansal, PhD, and graduate students Sam Weinberg and Laura Diebold, demonstrated that mitochondria control hematopoietic stem cell fate by preventing the generation of a metabolite called 2-HG. The scientists show that stem cells deficient in mitochondria function cannot generate blood cells due to elevated levels of 2-HG. All right, let me stop right there for a second. Where that's going to immediately go is two places. On a surface level, that's going to go to anemia, right? Immediately, that's going to go to anemia. Then, go a few levels beneath the surface, and that's going to go to sickle cell, and then that's going to go to it's another type of anemia. Start with an H, right? But there's three different main types of anemia that you need to worry about. That's going to go right to that research, ASAP immediately, right? This is the other half of respiration, respiratory proteins. Mitochondria are essential organelles for cell metabolism, growth, function, blah, blah, blah. The alveolar type 2 cell mitochondria also proliferate to support not only surfactant metabolism, right? So, as I know, surfactant metabolism, folks gonna be in the back like, is he talking about laundry detergent? Surface chemistry, right? Surface chemistry, right? A large part of what goes on in your body, it comes under the subheading of surface chemistry. That's where the surface of tissues, right, based on their interaction with different gases and fluids or whatever. And so your lungs play a role in, are a major player in the surface chemistry game, right? All right. Multiple energy functions, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So mitochondria contribute to lung development and repair. And fast forward, because mitochondria play such a role in the tricarboxylic or the Krebs cycle or the citric acid cycle, literally, you could say those are different names for the processes going on in and around mitochondria relevant to metabolism and respiration, right? The high blood pressure conversation, right? The high blood pressure conversation, right? The cholesterol conversation, because it's really two conversations. It's vitamin D and your hormones on one side, and then it's high blood pressure on the other side. Both of those are sitting on opposite sides of cholesterol. Cholesterol production starts with your mitochondria, right? So all of these things we need to be aware of. In fact, it's too many for us to even list, right? Cholesterol synthesis, vitamin D, testosterone, cortisol, cellular apoptosis, your brain firing, neurotransmission, right? Cellular senescence, gene expression, right? Your cell's defense, the NRF2 system, right? Muscle contractions, epigenetics, fat and sugar metabolism, recycling water, right? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So because of those reasons and even 1,000 more, right, that we haven't listed, that's why we go from respiration in terms of getting oxygen in, right? Getting oxygen in and heart health and blood and getting oxygen to the cells so the muscles can do whatever, right? This is how we go from that end of things to the other side, which is the mitochondria, because that's where the oxygen and the food is all processed, right? Okay. Please get the Constitution book, the Goat book, and the Kidney book. No, the Constitution book, the Goat book, the Kidney book. Yo, I don't think enough people have that book, though. Let me show you, because I'm going through this list of books that you should get. And I really don't think that enough people have that Kidneys book, because it's not listed in the Comedic Science books. It's a part of the Melanin versus Diabetes books. And a lot of people, they like trying to have their whole collection of the Comedic Science books. So that book is getting like left out by mistake, but you need to have this book. Melanin versus Diabetes, Kidneys. This book is super crucial. That is a crucial book to have in your collection, right? And then Ebers Papers Volume 6 to really understand how mitochondria produces light and pressure builds in the vessels. Here we got to walk down the missing details of mitochondria. You have to try and remember the food you eat goes to the mitochondria. Your body isn't electric. Their bodies are electric. Your body is light-based. Think about the sequence. God formed you from the dust of the ground and then blew the breath of life into you. The dust of the ground is the source of the mitochondria and the microbiome. All cells that make tissues, bones, glands, organs, etc. have mitochondria. Red blood cells do not have mitochondria in them. They have mitochondria around them. Red blood cells are your electron transport chain or respiratory pigments. What? So what? You trolling? No. So how you gonna put on a Melanin versus Diabetes sweater, a hoodie, to like you got on, like you, what are you doing? You trolling that or what? This girl. She gonna put on a Melanin versus Diabetes hoodie, like she, you know what I'm saying? Come over here. Come on. Bring that little chair. Just in case, because I don't know if people can, they might not be able to see. Okay. Yeah, they wouldn't be able to see you. Stand up on the chair. Put your feet on the outside parts right here. Yeah. You see this? So she's going to throw on this sweater. All right, get your butt out of here. Take your chair, hit the road. She done set up a little sub office station over here where she got her notes. She got her drinking bottle. You know she got some of this. Oh my goodness. What we gonna do with these children, bro? She trolling. She did not have that on. She had on, I don't know what she had on, but she did not have that on. She just put that on so she could get into the whole, I don't know. All right. All right, so red blood cells are respiratory pigments, right? They don't have respiratory pigments. They are respiratory pigments. right? They don't have respiratory pigments. They are respiratory pigments, right? They don't have respiratory pigments. They are respiratory pigments, right? So remember, I keep telling you, there's no quantum biology outside of pigment, right? Pigment is where all of the quantum whatever happens. That is where the magic happens. So your blood cells are just like really, really, really big respiratory pigments, right? But that same combination of heme, iron, and oxygen is happening inside the mitochondria at a much smaller scale, right? At a much smaller scale. It's heme, it's iron, and it's more electrons and protons, right? Even though oxygen does play a role, right? Oxygen does play a role towards the end, right? Towards the end, right? Because the oxygen gets recycled, right? As carbon dioxide and also as water, right? So towards the end. Okay. The aorta is responsible, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so we jump into muscles. And I'm reading this out of the book because there's certain stuff in the book that is not for YouTube. There's certain stuff that, because y'all know normally I would have this up on the screen as I'm going through it. But yeah, these last couple of books has got stuff in there that's not for YouTube. Right? When you get the books. Right? But it's not for YouTube. Okay. Fast twitch and slow twitch muscle. We need that. We need that discussion. We need that discussion. Fast twitch and slow twitch muscle. You cannot understand metabolic disease if you don't get the fast twitch and slow twitch muscle. Metabolic disease will never make sense. Remember a couple weeks back, was that a couple weeks ago or about a month ago? We watched the neurosurgeon. Trust me, I would be replaying that video 1,000 times if we didn't get hit. You know what I'm saying? Like I got a copyright community strike guideline, whatever. Like I got a strike for that. You know what I'm saying? So we leaving him over, but it's still up. They didn't like delete the video and it's still up. You know what I'm saying? So you can go back and watch that video with the neurosurgeon in it. But it's kind of like that. Like how the neurosurgeon quit because he couldn't understand. You know, it was just too much he didn't understand. It's like that. You can't understand metabolic disease unless you understand muscles, right? Unless you understand muscle and the aorta, right? You got to understand the aorta and you got to understand muscle, right? The same way the brain has the spine, your heart has the aorta, right? And so if you don't understand the role of the aorta in your body, you can't really understand. If you don't understand skeletal muscle outside of just visually looking good, like, oh, shorty is sexy, she got the fat booty, or that guy is sexy, he has a real, tight six-pack, or I don't know, big shoulders, or whatever women look for, right? You got to understand skeletal muscle as a functional part of the body. Functional part of the body, you know, as a set of tissues, maybe even a part of the glandular system, right? Because they secrete myokines and they have communication with the rest of the tissue. So they're not quiet, right? So you got to get this slow twitch, right? Now, typically, slow twitch is fiber type number 1. And then fast twitch is fiber type 2A and B, right? 2A and 2B. For the most part, though, we're going to be talking about 2B, right? Because fiber type 2A is not really fast twitch muscle. It's not really fast twitch muscle. It's a hybrid kind of, right? So some textbooks don't even have it listed that way. Some of the old school textbooks did slow, intermediate, and fast. Yeah, some of the old school textbooks, they had slow twitch muscle, intermediate twitch muscle, and then fast twitch, right? And then I guess they just grouped them together and it became slow twitch and then fast twitch type 2A and 2B, right? But type 2A is intermediate. It does some slow twitch stuff and it does fast twitch stuff, right? That's why I say it's a hybrid of the two. It's not really slow twitch, nor is it really fast twitch, right? It works with glycogen, it works with glucose and fats. It just jack of all trades, ace of none type of vibe, right? So okay, so first things first, we can get this out of the way, right? This is the red meat. Red meat, white meat, right? So if you eat meat, if you don't eat meat, you're good. This doesn't apply to you as much, right? But if you do eat meat, or if you did eat meat before, this is just a good way to remember the characteristics of fast twitch and slow twitch, right? When you go to the supermarket and you get red meat are the cuts from the animal that are slow twitch muscle. That's why they're red. A lot of blood. They're red because they got a lot of blood, a lot of capillaries, a lot of blood, right? Slow twitch muscle. Red meat. That means a lot of capillaries, a lot of blood flow going to slow twitch muscles because the slow twitch muscle uses the blood flow to produce energy. Fast twitch muscle, white meat. Almost no blood flows to fast twitch muscles. Almost no blood. Little to no blood flows to fast twitch muscle. Fast twitch muscle is not relying on producing continuous energy. They store energy as glycogen. So they already have energy ready to go. So that's why fast movements or explosive movements or powerful movements, fast twitch, meaning they ready to go in an instant. They already have energy on deck. They already have energy on deck. So these are the first muscles that's ready to transition out of, create phosphorus and creatine, right? That's the first little energy pool, phosphorus and creatine. And then after that, boom, these muscles already ready to go. So Slow twitch muscles, they're converting. They ready to produce, right? They ready to produce. They hustling. They ain't really got no money saved up. Yeah, they ain't got no money saved up, but they hustling. They got cash flow. They know how to get. They know how to get to it. That's the slow twitch muscles. Fast twitch muscles more like suburban kids. They don't know nothing about hustling. You know what I'm saying? But they got that trust fund. They got the savings account. You know what I'm saying? That's how they operate. All right. Right. So if you can't see what I just wrote in here in the middle, I know this looked like chicken scratch maybe, right? The word tired, right? With two arrows, one pointing to slow, one pointing to fast. Because not only does this name determine their movement speed and potential, it also tells you how fast they wear out. Right? How fast they wear out. So fast twitch muscles, they tend to run through their glycogen supply quickly. Right? They run through the glycogen supply quickly. Whereas slow twitch muscles, again, they never depended on no, you know what I mean? They never depended on no, so they're grinders. They're constantly producing energy from what's in the cell and what's coming to the cell, right? Whatever you got circulating in the blood, right? And you should have what? 4 grams of sugar floating around in your bloodstream, right? You should have 4 grams of sugar, right? You might have some intramyolipids somewhere, some fatty acids floating around, right? Whatever that is, the slow twitch muscles are like pigs. They eat everything. They're gonna flip everything into some energy. They got it. They the guy that pops out on you and open his jacket up, and he got watches for sale, cups, movies, and they could flip anything into currency, right? So this is why you can go like this, right? You can go like this. You can go you can put exercise over here with fast twitch. And then you can put posture over here with slow twitch, right? You can put posture over here with slow twitch, right? All of the muscles that are required for your posture, slow twitch muscle, right? Because you're using these muscles all day. In order for me to stand, right, the muscles that keep my back erect, right, that's your, what you got in there? You got your QL down here, right? You got your QL down here. Inside, you got your psoas muscles. And then going up the back, right? You got your spinal erectus or erectus spinalis or whatever, right? Then you have, you got your transverse abdominis and then your obliques, right? So all of those keep your spine erect, right? Along with your pelvic floor muscles and all that, right? So these are primarily like slow twitch, right? They got a fast twitch component, but there's a lot of slow twitch muscle in there because you got to use those all day, right? You got to use those all day. Like your calf muscles, like loaded with slow twitch muscle because you have to use that all the time, right? You have to use that all the time. So when we look at muscles and we go calf muscle, it's actually made up, most of your muscles that you think of, like pecs or this or that, is made of some combination of fast twitch and slow twitch. Fast twitch and slow twitch, right? So this is not exclusive, but just for functional purposes, you can put this in your mind that fast twitch muscle are primarily for like exercise, for movement, right? For movement. And maybe not even as much just regular movement, but assisted movement, right? Where you need an extra pep in your step, right? Where you know, that's primarily where the fast twitch muscle come in. Posture. Now, why this is important? Because we know that the foundation for metabolic disease, right? Diabetes. This is the diabetes map right here. This is a diabetes map, right? So somebody that's just coming along, if they just turn the video on right now and I start using these things right here to discuss diabetes, they may not even know how we walked slowly from the beginning of the video up to this point, right? But this is a map of diabetes right here. Diabetes is all in here. Diabetes is all in here. And this is where I found my first earliest like super cheat codes for diabetes, right? Because typically we're wrestling with all of the forms of diabetes that come from insulin resistance, right? Type 1 is not necessarily, right? So type 1 diabetes, slightly different, right? Slightly different, right? Slightly different, right? But every other form of diabetes, from mitochondrial diabetes to, you know, the contributions to Alzheimer's and dementia to all the way, you know, just that whole entire universe right here, right? Because we know that diabetes is characterized by insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is about muscles converting glucose, fatty acids into energy. Here's the map of that. This is the other side of the conversation. When you hear about diabetes, you hear about high blood sugar, high blood insulin. Well, the target, right, where the sugar and the insulin is supposed to go. So the insulin is supposed to start this guy up, right? GLUT4 molecule, right? So the GLUT4 molecule is supposed to be on deck. And then you got another mystery player in this whole metabolism, program. Now, you got another mystery player in this whole energy metabolism. You know, this boy just children. That's all I can say is children, boy. But Chase did just get inducted into the National Honor Society yesterday. So I just be having to side eye him sometimes. Anyway, there's another mystery player in this whole program, right? And it comes from the natural way the body's set up. Basically, the natural path, naturopathy, right? Naturopathy, right? Goes back to the legend of the reason why, one of the reasons why the perfect black is also green, right? One of the reasons why the perfect black is also green, right? Green is nature's color of carbohydrates. Now, of course, carbohydrates comes in all colors, shapes, and sizes, but green is the primary color of plants, right? So everything that comes from the plant kingdom is a byproduct of green. It's a byproduct of photosynthesis, right? So because your body is naturally designed to process carbohydrates, not sugar, right? We get it twisted. And sometimes, you know, we use the term sugar loosely. We use the term sugar loosely, and then we interchange it with glucose, and we interchange it with carbohydrates, but it's really not. Sugar is really man's invention. Sugar is our invention. There's really no such thing as sugar per se in nature. Nature doesn't have sugar, right? Nature has, you know, carbohydrates, right? We turn it into sugar, right? That's our terminology, right? So that we can explain to ourselves and then do commerce surrounding the idea of removing the carbohydrates from the fruits and the vegetables, right? And when we remove the carbohydrates from the fruits and the vegetables, we separate them from the fiber and the pigment, which is the reason why we don't really promote plant-based. Our thing over here is fiber and pigment. That's what we promote. That's the Dr. Inky. That's the Inkitarian. The Inkitarian diet is centered around pigment and fiber. One of those reasons is because of our battle with diabetes, right? The way your body's designed, you're supposed to have those pigment metabolites with every sugar that you're processing. You're supposed to also have those pigments there. Very important piece to understanding metabolic disease, right? And so even people that have, right, like even people that have functional amounts of magnesium, they may not be getting enough magnesium. Period. You might have functional, like you might have enough to do what you do, get up, go to work, but you may not have enough. And this might silently be a contributor to diabetes and obesity, right? Because along with this guy, right, you need that magnesium, right? So if you're eating fruits and vegetables, getting carbs that way, this is automatically on deck. Magnesium is automatically built into your fruits and vegetables in quantity to the amount of carbohydrates that's in there, so your body can, you know, along with enzymes and other stuff that's in there to help your body metabolize it. But this guy specifically, right, You have to have the magnesium even later on when the mitochondria are producing ATP. Your cells need magnesium to couple with the ATP. Right? So magnesium plays a big role. Right? Magnesium plays a big role. Right? But this right here is your blueprint with metabolism. Right? Make no mistake. This is where sugar is metabolized. This is where sugar is converted to energy and leaves your body. So if you have high blood sugar, right, or if you have high tissue sugar, hold up now, we done made a new one. High tissue sugar. What is high tissue sugar? Inky, you just made that up. I just said I just made that up. Yeah, I just made that up. What time is it? May 3rd, 5 minutes to 2. We just made up high tissue sugar. What is high tissue sugar, Inky? Fat. Fat, right? So if you got high blood sugar or high tissue sugar, right? It's going to be your muscles that need to break that down and metabolize that stuff, right? So this is why, this conversation of slow twitch muscle and fast twitch muscle is bigger than just, can you do 10 pull-ups? They got this guy on the internet. He pulls up to different places and he be standing outside the mall like, yo, I give you $100 if you could do, if you could do one pull-up, I'll give you $100. And people be failing. Oh my God. Yo, my heart be going out to some of these people because it be men sometimes. You know what that is to be a man and you walking with your wife or your girlfriend or you got your children with you and somebody like, yo, I'll give you $100 if you could do one pull-up. And you like, nah, I can't do it. Or even worse, you try to do it. Yo, oh my God. God forgive me for laughing at these people. Ooh. We just don't know how good we have it as people in this time period, how easy things are for us. But this ease of life, this luxury is king's disease. That's how you got men walking around able to call themselves men, fathers, husbands, boyfriends, whatever, and they can't do one pull-up. What you mean you can't do one you can't do one pull-up? Forget a set of pull-ups. You can't pull yourself up onto something one time. That's crazy. That's crazy. And that's representing somebody that's going to have something going on with themselves and they're going to go to the hospital and they're going to be looking for the doctor to explain their condition. Like, bro, why you at the doctor asking the doctor to explain your condition and you can't do a pull-up? That's your condition right there. You don't let your body waste away. Yeah, you wasting away. What do you mean? Everything is going bad in there. Oh my God, God forgive me. We're trying to work with folks and get folks to understand some stuff. Right? Okay. My bad. I had a moment. Don't judge me. I'm working on me. Don't judge me. I had a moment. Okay. All right. They also have little to no myoglobin. Right? These guys are packed with myoglobin. right? Fast twitch muscles, little to no myoglobin. Slow twitch muscles packed with myoglobin, right? Myoglobin is the twin brother of hemoglobin, right? I say twin brother because it's stronger, right? It's stronger, right? Myoglobin snatches the oxygen. It's oxygen transfer pigment, right? Right? All these are respiratory pigments. When you hear globin, respiratory pigments, right? Neuroglobin, cytoglobin, all these are respiratory pigments, right? Oxygen transfer, energy transfer. So because these have no real blood flow, it's no reason for the myoglobin, right? The slow twitch has the strong blood flow, so that means what? The strong oxygen levels, right? The strong oxygen level is going to your slow twitch. Very little oxygen going to fast twitch muscle. Very little oxygen, right? Very little oxygen, right? So if you're not exercising, these tissues here that's not getting no oxygen, these are the main ones that you're going to have problems with off rip, right? Because when you eat, they get filled up fast. These also get filled up fast, right? Because remember what fast twitch muscles do. So anybody with metabolic disease or diabetes, they got problems with their fast twitch muscles, right? Because these stores glycogen. They store glucose as glycogen. So that means they in the cut. They build up, they in the cut. So now if you don't do any fast or explosive movements, because you sedentary lifestyle, you walking from the bed to the bathroom to the couch, sit down in the car, get to the supermarket, get on the disability wagon at the supermarket, go to your job, sit down at the job, like go to school, sit down in school. Like if you never actually empty the sugar out of these fast twitch muscles. So they're full. They're full. So they're not looking for any more sugar. So yeah, so there's no reason they can't accept no more sugar. It's not that they're resistant to insulin. There's nowhere for the sugar to go. Right? So it's not that they're resistant. It's not that they would not like to have a bite to eat. Yeah, they would like to have a bite to eat, but they're already stuffed. That's how it goes, right? These muscles have to empty all of the glycogen before they can load up on some more stuff. So if you don't move around, these muscles are full. So there's already a portion of your body, and mind you, 80% of your body's carbohydrates is going to these skeletal muscles. 70% is going to the skeletal muscles. So now, if you don't move, these muscles are not processing glucose. They're not taking glucose, turning it into glycogen. They're not doing anything. Right? Muscle size determines storage size. So that's one of the reasons, like biochemically or anatomically, that's the reason why when you keep using a muscle, the muscle grows, right? These muscles grow the fastest. See the fast and the slow tells you a whole lot about the muscle tissue. They grow the fastest and the biggest. Yeah, they grow the fastest and the biggest when you give them attention. They're like attention starved. So if you give them a little bit of attention, they'll love you to death, right? So it's not that these muscles, like it's a disease, it's not. If you're not using them, they're full of sugar. So no more sugar could go in there, right? So those are doorways that are closed to you that would otherwise be metabolizing sugar for you, right? Then you stuck with just these guys. And unfortunately, these guys metabolize everything, not just sugar. Right? So they doing fatty acids and whatever they can get their hands on. They breaking it down. Right? So they metabolize, but they metabolize slow, especially if you're not doing much movement. If you're just walking around and you're just walking from the bedroom, bathroom, kitchen, dining room, car, work or school, and then back, bedroom, bathroom, kitchen, that's not enough. That's not enough to get these muscles that you are actually using to metabolize a whole day's worth of carbohydrates, right? Especially with the way our meals are designed, right? So, and especially not processed sugars, right? So there's levels to it, right? Natural sugars, natural carbohydrates almost process themselves, right? Because they're coming in with fiber and they activate the microbiome and all this other stuff you got going on. Natural sugars almost metabolize themselves. Processed sugars rely 100% on your muscles. So rice, white rice, pasta, bread, cakes, cookies, all of that relies 100% on your muscles to metabolize, right? It's not just digestion. We're confused about what those things mean. Digestion means that it's breaking down what you ate for the muscles to metabolize it. You didn't finish with it because your stomach finished with it. Because you burped and now you're ready to eat again, that don't mean you actually ready to eat again. Because you burped and you think you ready, like your stomach feel empty, that don't mean you ready to eat again. Right? That don't mean you're ready to eat again. See, that's King's disease, excess, luxury. Right? We're going to have to start getting you to pay a luxury tax. Right? That's what we had to get with this thing. We had to get to the point where you pay a luxury tax on this luxury living. Right? That's what we're going to have to get with this. Right? So, again, this is where metabolism actually takes place. This is where the sugar is going. This is where your vitamins are going. Right? This is where your vitamins are going. In case you don't know, you need to know this. This is where your sugar's going, your vitamins are going. Your protein is the only thing really going all over the place. Right? Protein's going all over the place. Right? And I can't even really say that because technically the amino acids got to go into the cells and then the endoplasmic reticulum kind of like stitches them together into protein, send them out. But all the rest of your food, though, this is where they're going. Your food is going in this direction, right? Fats, sugars, right? Vitamins kind of go all over the place, depending, right? Water-soluble vitamins go everywhere in your body where water circulates. Right? So water-soluble vitamins condition the body's water. Think about that. Water-soluble vitamins condition the body's water. Right? So if you don't have certain B vitamins, the fluids in your body are not going to be conducive to your tissues. Right? If you don't have vitamin C in the fluids of your body, your tissues can't maintain themselves. Vitamin C is what keeps the tissues, like vitamin C works with lysine to keep your cells building, to keep the tissues building. That's what vitamin C does, right? Vitamin A helps you produce new types of cells, right? That's what vitamin A does. Vitamin E goes into all of the membranes where electricity is produced and keeps those working. Vitamin E is your engineer, your electrician, right? That's vitamin E, right? Vitamin K similar, but vitamin K is doing that like in the actual tissues, right? But think about it. Wherever fats go, that's where fat soluble vitamins go, because the fat soluble vitamins condition the fats. So coating your nerves, your neurons, right? That's fat. The myelin sheath is fat, right? Your brain is mostly made of fat. So fat soluble vitamins determine brain function, right? Every day you have to make like 50 billion brand new cells in your body. All of those cells need membranes. Fat soluble vitamins goes to that, right? So, but just keep in mind that this whole metabolism thing is the star of the show. Like, I can't repeat this part enough. What other differences do we have? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, there's some in here. Some of y'all got the book. So y'all in the book like, oh, yeah, Inky, you forgot to put that down. No, I didn't. They got to get the book. Yeah, you at home like, yo, Ink, you should write this part down, and you forgot to write that down. No, I didn't. I didn't forget that. I didn't skip that. No. When they get the book, yeah. They got to hit the Cash App. They got to hit the, the super chat. They got to subscribe to the video. You know what I'm saying? They got to join the Patreon. Like, come on now. We got to get this thing together. All right. Now, over here in our mitochondria conversation, fast twitch muscles have only a few hundred mitochondria in them. Fast twitch muscle only has a few hundred mitochondria. Only a few hundred. Right? Only a few hundred. The slow twitch, has a few thousands of mitochondria in there. Because the mitochondria requirement is to turn over the nutrients in the blood into energy. So because there's no blood flow, you don't need no whole bunch of mitochondria in there. Right? You don't need no whole bunch of mitochondria where there's no blood flow. That's why I say white meat and red meat tell you the whole story. Right? White meat, red meat tell you the whole story. Now, when you get inside, right? Hold up, Ink. I was getting ready to write that down. Well, rewind the video. Pause the video. Or better yet, just go get the books. Yeah, you gotta get the books, champ. When you get inside the muscle, right? Because remember, we started this off with the discovery of the energy grids and how the mitochondria connect, right? So when you get inside the muscle, you have, I want you to say this word 10 times real fast. right? When you get inside the muscle cell, the mitochondria gets broken down into different groups, right? And mitochondria have different function besides just turning over energy to produce ATP, right? Now, these are the guys. I did that too close. I need some space. These are the guys right here that send out the insulin signal, right? So the insulin signal comes from the mitochondria in the muscle cell. The insulin signal. So again, going back to what I was just saying, if you don't move your butt around, right, and get to a fast pace or lift you some weights or get to, even if you're doing like sit-ups, push-ups, pull-ups, like if you're doing calisthenics, instead of just doing a set number, right, you have to go to exhaustion, right? Or do what we do and set yourself a timer on it, right? Set yourself a timer to see how many is the maximum you could do in a certain amount of seconds, right? How many is the most you could do in a certain amount of seconds? Right? My bad. Something popped in my mind. I had to write it down. So these mitochondria is responsible for communicating. Remember, in Kemet, they said the vessels talk to one another. The tissues talk to one another. Your biochemistry and neurochemistry is based on communication. Folks said them doctors from Kemet was out of their mind. They was too religious and magical and caught up in priest foolishness. And yeah, that's not real science. It's absolutely real science. It's so crazy that it's 2025 and we're just getting to the point where we can understand what they was talking about 4,000, 5,000 years ago, right? But the subsarcolemmal mitochondria are the mitochondria that send the insulin signal. And that should make sense to you, right? Because the mitochondria are the ones that's getting the signals from the muscle, and it's the one that's processing the energy for the muscle. So when the mitochondria runs out of substrates, right? It runs out of food, runs out of snacks, sandwiches, right? Runs out of appetizers, right? To convert into energy. Yeah. Right? Or maybe what you know, I don't know. That's my neighborhood. You know, yeah. Or you know, where you from, you might tinkle the bell like, any great coupon. I don't know. I don't know. Right? But they send out the bat signal like, yo, we need, right? That's part of what later on drives sugar addiction, right? Because there's this built-in system where your muscles speak directly to your brain speaks to you. Yeah, that's why people start getting angry and cranky when they don't have sugar. Yeah, when your sugar start dropping, or when your body even get close to the sugar level dropping, you start getting cranky and you start looking around. Yeah, you train to believe that's a sweet tooth. No, that's not a sweet tooth. That is a survival mechanism that has been corrupted and perverted by commercial interests, right? But it is a natural system. So subsarcolemmal mitochondria send out that insulin signal, right? So that's very important that we take care of the mitochondria, because the mitochondria, they're telling the cells when to process energy, when to eat, send down some more, right? Throw down some ice for the nicest MC, right? What else we got? That's important. Okay, and then the intermyofibrillar mitochondria, they operate from inside the muscle fibers, right? They operate from inside the muscle fibers. So they communicate to the other mitochondria. Yep. What? We ran out? All right, hold up. And then the outer wrapping of mitochondria, they communicate. And obviously the nerves going to send that jet pillar going to send that right up to the brain. And the brain going to turn, the brain going to process that. And then you're going to look around and say, did I have a pack of cookies? I thought I had a pack of cookies. Or depending on how you trained your brain, right? Because you might turn around and be like, did I get them apples from the supermarket? Did I get them apples? I thought I had some apples and, maybe you get up and go raid the fridge, right? Maybe you get up and go raid the fridge, or you send the children. I'm one of them. I'm sending the children. Jay, go look in there and see if I bought them. Caleb, go in that refrigerator and see if I got them apples or them tangerines or what. See what's in there. See what's in there. Just tell me what's in there. I need something out of there. Don't get me something out of there. I'm in here trying to do these squats. Yeah, I'm in here trying to do these squats. My thighs and my lower back telling me, ho. We got you. We're trying to work with you, but we need at least, we need a little snack. We get it. We get it. Listen, we get it. You trying to lose some weight, however, we ain't going nowhere unless we get, you're going to have to put something in the tank, right? You have to put something in the tank, right? All right. So that's these two different cell groups. Or mitochondria, right? These are on the outside of the muscle fibers, and these are on the inside of the muscle fibers, right? So when the scientists discovered that mitochondria is not just floating around, right? They form a grid. This is where we start getting into the specifics of the grid, right? This is the specifics. So they come together and wrap around the outside of the muscle fiber. Those are subsarcolemmal, right? Then you have mitochondria all wrapped up together inside of the muscle fiber, all twisting around all in there. That's these guys. And these guys going to communicate to these guys. These guys going to communicate to these guys. My bad if that hurt you. I know somebody got their headphones on like, come on, Ink. My bad. Yeah. That might have been loud in there. But these guys going to communicate to these guys going to communicate to you and send you for snack time. Right? Now, how does that work? How does that work? What is the process of that? Because everything is electrical, lights, it's magnetic, but then beneath that, there's a biochemical process, right? So when that signal goes out, what is happening? What's happening, right? Melanin concentrating hormone. Melanin concentrating hormone. Melanin concentrating hormones, right? That's telling the melanocytes, stop making melanin. Hold up. Don't make no more melanin now. We need energy. We don't need no more energy gobbling up. We ain't got nothing to gobble up. Hold on now. So now we getting ready to start scavenging. When melanin concentrating hormone come out, the body's getting ready to go into scavenger mode, right? That's what makes you feel hungry. Melanin concentrating hormone. It makes you feel hungry. Your body's getting ready to go into scavenger mode. Yeah. And when your body goes into scavenger mode, the nerves is also communicating to the fat cells, telling them to open up. Open up the fat cells. Yeah. Yeah, we got to go into gluconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis is how your body makes sugar out of fat and protein. If you don't snap out of it fast enough, it'll start grabbing protein. Like once it's going through the fat, it's going to start grabbing protein, and then you're losing muscle. Right? That's another reason why you shouldn't fast too long, right? Or go into what's these other folks? Keto. You shouldn't go into ketosis too long because you'll start losing muscle eventually. Right? Eventually. Couple days, 48 hours, 72 hours. Past that, I don't know what you're doing, right? But melanin concentrating hormone starts to be produced, right? Melanin stimulating hormone stops being produced. Melanin concentrating hormone starts being produced. We hungry. The longer it takes for you to eat, the more melanin concentrating hormone is produced. Once you get to a high enough threshold where you're not eating and the melanin concentrating hormone production is going through the roof, your body will start to consume itself. Yeah. That's when your body start looking around like, see, I don't know where all y'all from, right? But we come from poverty, right? So if we can't pay the bills, we try to hold off as long as possible. But then we start taking stuff to the pawn shop. That's when we start autophagy at the house. We autophagy in the apartment. We autophagy in the house right now. The whole crib is autophagy. We starting to look at the TVs. We like, well, look, do we even watch this TV in the living room? Ain't nobody goes in the living room. We might as well just take this TV. Yeah, can we put this TV on the marketplace on Facebook? Let's sell this TV because nobody watching this TV anyway. So let's put this TV. Yeah, let's put this TV. And then you said you got them earrings from your grandma. Like, how much you love your grandma? Because we gotta, like, my check don't come till, you know what I'm saying? Listen, I'm trying to tell y'all how it go. Y'all may not understand these situations with this how it go. The house becomes, we autophagy in the house. You start looking around at the house like, man, we don't even use all this stuff. When the last time you put something in that microwave? I think we can get $20 for that. Yeah, we can probably cover some cell phone bills if we take them the 2 microwaves, we can at least keep these phones because the job might call me. You know, you might be on unemployment. You're like, man, a job might call me. I'm gonna need this phone to stay on. Yeah, so we're gonna. That's autophagy. It's happening inside your body. The body's looking around, and any little tissues and this and that, and that's how things that could start to develop into tumors can be broken down, right? Because your body might look around, it's scrambling. They're like, wait, what is that right there? Hey, what's this? You know, or like think about when the fridge is almost empty, and you might have a family, so you can't just eat something in the fridge. It ain't yours. You know what I'm saying? But y'all trying to cook dinner. You trying to put something together. You're like, hey, what is this in the back of the fridge right here? Who left this in here in the back? Whose is this? Yeah, we're gonna have to put this in the pot right here. We about to eat this. Whose is this? That's how your body start looking at extra little tissues. Your body like, wait a minute, what is this? Is this some type of protein? What is this, amino? What? Yeah, we getting ready to, we getting ready to eat this. What is this thing right here sitting back here? Yeah, pull this out here. We getting ready to eat this. So these are some of the ancient benefits of fasting, right? That we didn't know. All of the ancient benefits of fasting was based on melanin concentrating hormone, right? We didn't know this because our scientific institution, along with our medical and healing institutions, are inherently still racist. It's still dealing with Charles Darwin ideology. So the people that are operating in these institutions may no longer operate from that racist paradigm. But the paradigm itself is still there. So there's a lot of things that's just not made simple and plain for folks to understand. But all those benefits from thousands of years of fasting, and you see it in your holy books and traditions and all that, that's because that's how you boost the body's production of melanin concentrating hormone. And then your body starts to go into a, garage sale. It's garage sale time. We get ready to start. Yeah, all this got to go. All this got to go. Everything is on sale. Right? Everything's for sale. Right? So that starts here with these subsarcolemmal mitochondria sending these signals out. Right? Sending these signals out. Now, this is why we incorporate the 13-7 rule. Right? When I first started the 40-day fruit fast, it was a 16-8 rule. Right? A 16-8 rule. Eat for 8 hours, leave your body 16 hours to do its magic. We refined that down. 13-7. You go, wait a minute, there's still some hours left over. What do we do in those other hours? Those other hours is the ish happens hours. Right? Those are the ish happens hours. Right? What do you mean ish happens? Well, we trying to be our best selves. It doesn't always go like that. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't always go according to plan. So sometimes you got to be able to, you know what I mean? You got to. So that's why you got this other set of hours. You got 7 and 13, right? That leaves you an extra 3-4 hours to, you know what I mean? If you have to get something in, you got to get something in. Yeah, if you got to get something in, you got to get something in. Right? You might have to work longer hours, do overtime. Your child's at school, they call you something going on, you got to drive, you're going to have to get you something in real quick. All right, whatever that noise is, what is that? The kitchen? Okay. You want to come in? Okay, come on, Bridget. Relocate your whole little office. Where's your chair? Get your chair. Put that down right there. Okay. Yeah, get your chair. Yeah, because they're doing too much. Give me that chair. All right, now you step in. And then you got that right there. That's your office right there. Yeah, you set you up right there. Okay. So now, even the ketosis thing, right? So the whole keto program is based on melanin concentrating hormone, because going into ketosis is also a part of this whole program, right? It's a part of this whole program. The muscle signals the same. The muscles is, yeah. We need sugar. We need carbs. Where it's at? We ain't got it. You know what I'm saying? Where it's at? I ain't got it. Right? You know, back in the days, you got it. No, I ain't got it. You got it. Muscles like, I ain't got it. So, you got to produce some fuel from somewhere. Right? So, ketones kicks in. Right? Ketones kicks in. All of this is downhill chemistry from melanin concentrating hormone. When you don't have the fuel, the signal is amplified and amplified and amplified. The signal that's being amplified, right? The signal that's being broadcast, or better word, the signal that's being transmitted. Think about that. The neuro signal that's being transmitted is being transmitted by melanin concentrating hormone, right? The neurotransmitter, right? Melanin concentrating hormone, right? So, okay, we moving. What time is it? Okay, we got 20 minutes to prayer. We moving. All right. Hopefully that made some sense. Folks is like, where ain't that made some sense? We about to hit you on the Cash App. Hey, we got you. All right. Blah blah blah. Okay, so we go through a list of cheat codes. When I say cheat codes, I'm talking about specific foods or nutrients for you to build the mitochondria up. Right? Specific foods and nutrients for you to build up the mitochondria. Right? That obviously is in the book. Right? We're not putting that on the whiteboard. We're going to leave that in the book. Yeah. Blah blah blah. Okay, now hold up. This is an important part too. But we probably had to do a whole different breakdown. Yeah, let me put a note to myself. Note to self to do this. Right? Yeah, we have to do a whole different video for that. All right, we on page 14. It's a whole lot of pages. We on page 14. I don't know how far we're gonna get, but we cooking. We rolling. All right, so we did slow twitch, right? And that's 1,000 to 3,000, right? Or let's just average it off. Let's just average it off, right? Slow twitch muscle, we're going to say an average of 2,000 mitochondria. Fast twitch muscle, we're going to say an average of 200 mitochondria. Now, neurons and nerves, I got to write back here. I got to write them back here because I need space. Neurons and nerves have an average of 2 million mitochondria each. 2 million each, right? 2 million each. And that's average. Because think about it. If your little neurons in your brain, think about it, your little tiny neurons in your brain, if they got 2 million mitochondria, how many mitochondria are in the neuron that runs from your back all the way down to your foot? So you got neurons that's microscopic, 2 million mitochondria. You got neurons that's 3 feet long. How many mitochondria is in there? Right? So 2 million at the minimum in your nerves and your neurons. So everything that we discuss in terms of muscle tissue is more pronounced in the heart, the spine, and the brain. The heart, the spine, and the brain, right? This is why we had to have a whole book on the JED pillar and get to know the construction of the spine, the anatomy of the spine, because the spine is so complicated. I ain't even gonna say so complicated, but the spine is so tricky. The spine is so tricky that they done broke it down into like different, you know what I'm saying? Like, so when you go, if you got a problem with your spine, chances are, right? Like if you go get a spine surgery, let's go there. If you go get a spine surgery, spinal surgeries is expensive because you got to have 2 teams at the minimum to work on your spine, right? You have to have the orthopedic surgeon team to come and work on your spine, and you got to have the neurosurgeon team to work. So they got to be like that. They like that. Like back in the days when you was about to bust out into a dance, the B-boy, like the electric boogie battle, and it'd be like, you know what I'm saying? It'd be like your block right here, and then it'd be like, you know what I'm saying, the dudes from up the street, they'd be like on the other side like that. When you get into surgery, that's how it'd be. It'd be the neurosurgeon team and the orthopedic surgeon team together, right? You got the bone specialist guys, that's the orthopedics, right? That's the bone people. And then you got the neuro people. Those are the neuron people, right? And then you might have to have a third team, right? You might have to have the cardiovascular. You might have to have a cardiac team on deck like that, right? They might have to be standing at the head of the table looking over you. So you might have a cardiac specialist and his crew right here. The ortho and the neuro folks, you might have to have 3 different teams working on your spine. Because your spine is, each vertebrae is wrapped up with vessels, blood vessels, and tied to the aorta. So the aorta and the spine is together, right? So you make one little mistake on the spine, you mess with the aorta, and then all of a sudden, the person going in the heart, like it's getting crazy quick, right? And so that's how the spine is broken down. And so that's when you look up the spine, depending on why you're looking at it, you will see a different piece of information, right? So you might be looking up some sort of back issue and you'll see vertebrae. Vertebrae is like code word for all that together. Vertebrae is code word for all that together. All that's happening in each vertebrae. Not to mention plasma and all kinds of other stuff. Each vertebrae is a block party. It's all kind of stuff is going on. You got the cardiovascular system, the nerves and the neurons, and then you got the bones. And any one can affect another, right? If something happens to the bones, that'll start to lean on the disc and leak out the fluid. Once the fluid leak out of a disc, now it'll start pressing on a nerve or a vessel, and the nerve is making pain, shoot into your arm or your leg somewhere, or maybe losing control of your urine or your poop, like who knows what nerve that got cut off, or it'll shut a blood vessel down. And so now you're not getting blood into this, right? But it started with a bone issue, right? Or vice versa. Like any one of those can affect the other ones, right? So just know this mitochondria thing is bigger than ATP, right? And then when you get into the nerves and the neurons, they don't only use ATP, right? They exclusive. They bougie, right? So they really out there talking about, is there any Grey Poupon? They not having like steaks, they having filet mignon, so they use GTP. That's like when you go to the pump, ATP is 87. Yeah, all the cars use 87. Yeah, it's 87. Yeah, you can put that gas in anything. But now if you just got your car, you're going to try to put that 93 in there, especially if you got a nice car. You're putting that 93 in there. That's GTP, right? But that's, like I said, more of a whole nother nuanced conversation into the translation of the membrane potential electricity going down the axon into the neurotransmitter. Yeah. But for our purposes, we right here with it. Hopefully that's making sense. Hopefully this is making some type of sense, because we still ain't even get to like, Inky, hold up, we still ain't get to the Batana. If you listening and you understanding so far, you will know that we've been talking about Batana oil this whole time, or at least vitamin E, right? Because all of the electricity produced in mitochondria happens inside the membrane of mitochondria, right? So maybe that's what I should put up real quick, just to, right? So all of these membranes you got is made up of phospholipids, right? Here go phospholipids. Right? That's a phospholipid right there. Right? When you look at a phospholipid, what does a phospholipid look like? It looks like a microscopic radio station transmitter. It looks like a microscopic radio, like one of them big antennas put up on the big. That's how it looks, right? And you got a bunch of these, right? You got a bunch of these. Right? You got a bunch of these. Right? These are phospholipids. This is what membranes look like. Right? Phospholipids, right? Think about it. Phosphate, right? Just like ATP. ATP produce energy, so does the membrane. The membrane is made out of phosphates, and so is the ATP. So you know it's about that phosphorus and those oxygens, right? So there's light everywhere, right? So this is what the real light body look like, right? Right? It's called a phospholipid bilayer, right? Because it's two layers, right? It's two layers. Now, obviously, it looked better than this because I don't bang, I rock the good rhyme. The whole scenery reminded me of good times. Like, I don't draw, I write books, okay? Right? But this is how the membrane look. This is the phospholipids, right? This is the phosphate, and this is the lipid part, right? And this right here together is the bilayer, right? Now, because this is responsible for producing electricity, all types of free, free radicals is all up in here, right? This is the target of mad problems. Just think about it like that. Just now in my mind, even though we in a no Diddy time, in my mind just now I thought of Biggie. You know what I'm saying? Like, the more money we come across, the more problems we see. Yeah. More money, more problems, more cash. Remember, in ancient Egypt, aka Kemet, the word for sugar was cash, right? More money, more problems. More sugar, more problems, right? Because it's not just your pigments. It's not just the A1C that gets glycated or coated with sugar. It's also your cell membranes, right? So your cell membranes is liable to get sugar from the outside. Well, up here, right? Is get coated with sugar on the outside. On the inside of the cell is where the intracellular lipids are at, right? So it gets coated with fat that your cells is not breaking down on the inside, right? So you got gunk on the inside, you got sugar on the outside, and then all up in here, you got free radicals. That's reactive oxygen species, reactive carbon species, reactive nitrogen, like the whole program. You name it, all of them, right? They all popping up in here, messing up the cell membrane, right? And so when the cell membrane messes up, that's how stuff gets into the cell. Yeah, if you got a nice tough cell membrane, stuff can't get in. That's not supposed to be inside your cell, right? So the NRF2 system is down here. NRF2 system is down here inside the cell, right? If the go down goes down, the NRF2 system down here, the NRF2 system pop into action, right? But technically, cell membrane is supposed to be holding it down, right? So there's only one thing that protects membranes and keeps them able to do what they're supposed to do, which is produce electricity. That is vitamin E, right? And vitamin E is like a snake. Now look at my snake. My snake looks terrible. Yo, my snake looks like a worm, right? I don't know what I'm doing, right? But this is vitamin E right here. Vitamin E slithers like a snake. It slithers through this whole passageway, right? It slithers through the bilayers of the membranes and neutralizes any free radicals that's popping off. Any free radicals that's popping off gets neutralized by the vitamin E. Right? So this is important to understand when we're thinking. So just in case you're like, hold up, we ain't talking about the Batana yet. Batana oil is the richest natural source of vitamin E. So when we're talking about vitamin E, we're talking about Batana oil. It's like, oh yeah, you want some vitamin C, go eat some oranges or go eat some citrus fruits. You want some vitamin E, you go get that Batana. The problem is most of the Batana that's on the market is burnt waste products with carcinogens in it. That's why it smells like burnt coffee, because that burnt coffee is the smell of carcinogen. Just think about that when you smell it, because some of y'all got some of that burnt Batana in your house right now. When you smell it and it's solid at room temperature, that means it's saturated fat. It's saturated fat with that cancer in there. You can smell that cancer. That's that burnt grilled. Yeah, when you smell that burnt grilled coffee smell, that's like fresh cancer in the morning. When you smell that, the best part of waking up is cancer in your cup. Ow! I know they mad about that one. The best part of waking up is cancer in your cup. Okay, hold up, man. Let's get to the. Oh, wait, we already here. Okay. Cool.
Inky prayer number 2. We give thanks and praise to the Most High God for the divine spark that set our cells into perpetual motion. We give thanks for the magnetism of the Most Holy, the magnetism that repels and attracts the ferry boats of light 60,000 miles every 60 seconds throughout our vessels and caves. We give thanks for the ability to drink clean water every 60 minutes, flooding the river of life. We give thanks that sugar has not covered our ferries and turned them into stone. We give thanks that darkness has not covered the riverbanks with calcium and turned them into stone. We give thanks that anger and fear have not turned our almonds bitter, turning our heart to stone. We give thanks for smooth sailing upstream through the valley of death, through the superior vena cava into the right atrium. We give thanks for smooth sailing around the heart through the corona crown, joining the vortex in the right atrium. We give thanks for the perfect black solar repeater that induces the primary electromagnetic wave, opening the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodeshim. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodeshim closes. We give thanks to the ray wave, reflecting on the semi-lunar valves, opening a pathway to the vineyard. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the lunar gate to the vineyard closes. We give thanks to the Most High God that provides the light and our breath, and the light in our breath. We give thanks for the fine olfactory system that makes our grapes ripe with light. We give thanks for the Jed pillar that provides us with a stable fleet of ferry boats to dock in our vineyard. We give thanks for smooth sailing through the pulmonary vein into the storm of the left atrium. We give thanks for the perfect black solar repeater that induces the primary electromagnetic wave, opening the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodeshim. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodeshim closes. We give thanks to the ray wave, reflecting on the semi-lunar valves, opening a pathway into the holy royal arch of the Wa scepter. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the lunar gate into the holy royal arch of the Wa scepter closes. We give thanks for the magnetism of the most holy, the magnetism that repels and attracts the ferry boats of light 60,000 miles every 60 seconds throughout our vessels and our caves. Amen.
Okay, clap it up for yourself. Yeah, clap it up for yourself. If you participated during that, if you faked it and you ain't do nothing, slap yourself. Don't slap yourself. Just mentally slap yourself. All right. I don't know if y'all heard that siren earlier, that warning. That's a communication to the neighborhood. Like, if you need something from outside, go get it. If you're outside and you don't need nothing, go home because you're getting ready to have a storm. That tells me all those things, and if you need to do a live stream, you might want to do that now. Right? All right, so looking at all this stuff, right? This is why sitting down equals death. Right? This is why sitting is such a big problem. Right? This is why sitting is such a big problem. Right? Because what happens? Your largest muscle groups, right? Your largest muscle groups is your butt and your legs. Right? Your butt and your legs. So what happens if you're sitting all day? If you're sitting all day, and this is primarily, think about this. Your legs is loaded with slow twitch because they got to be able to do what? Your legs got to be active all day, every day. So your legs is loaded with fast twitch muscles because that's a part of your posture and your mobility. So you're loaded with slow twitch muscles in your legs and your butt, which means what? Your legs and your butt is supposed to constantly be chewing up that blood sugar, right? But if you sitting down all day, right? Unless you're sitting down in the air like I am right now. Right now, I'm sitting down in the air. So my thighs and my butt right now, particularly my thighs, my quads, is starting to burn, right? Because they're getting super activated. Right? So they're running through blood sugar like crazy right now. But if you're sitting down on the couch all day, or you sitting in the chair at the office typing all day, right? You're cutting the blood flow to the largest muscle groups you got in your body. Yeah. You're cutting the blood flow. And because you're cutting the blood flow, like we talked about in Osiris, diabetes, and respiration, right? Because you're cutting the blood flow, what's happening? Because you're cutting the blood flow, think about it. You're breaking that tie between metabolism and respiration. You're breaking that tie between metabolism and respiration, and you're getting hungry again, like how we went through that whole program about hungry and the melody concept. You're breaking the system. Your system is broken. It's coming uncoupled, right? Because what's happening? The sugar is not getting into the cells. So that sarcolemmal mitochondria that sends the insulin, remember that? Well, your cells are screaming out, yeah. But guess what? Your backup is not happening inside the muscles. Your backup is happening inside the blood. Your backup is happening with the pancreas. What are you talking about? Well, because the cells are not getting the energy, right? And you got half of your body, right, awake and alert, and you doing work like this, you sitting down at the desk and you doing whatever, and you're thinking, so your brain is using up fuel and sugar, and your upper body is moving around and doing stuff, and you turning around to talk to your coworker, and you, right? But your lower body ain't doing nothing. But you mobile up here, right? You getting the hunger signal. You getting that hunger signal, but you got a whole half of your body, right? So the signal is the system's starting to uncouple, right? All from the bottom half of your body, from the pelvis down, is stagnant. Stagnant. The largest muscle groups in your body are atrophying. So you can't use these as power plants. You can't use these to metabolize sugar, right? So that's why sitting is more dangerous than cigarettes, right? Right? And that goes with the largest muscles being in the legs or the lower body. And then that goes with, right? We can even say low electricity, right? Because Sabi been gone for like 10 years almost now, right? And Sabi and Dr. Becker, they start talking that electric body stuff, what? 30, 40 years ago? The body's electric, the body's electric, the body's electric. Well, guess what? Dr. Robert Becker was fat and Dr. Sabi was skinny. Right? So they only had it half right. They only had it half right. Oh my goodness. I hope nobody's injured. What was
Myron?
Dude, I can't stand.
Myron,
What?
what are you doing? What you doing?
What you talking about? What am I doing?
You reading them nasty books again, right, Myron?
Everybody read no nasty books, man. You scared the hell out of me. What you talking about, man? But I ain't did that in about 2 weeks. What
You
talking-
called yesterday too. What you reading? What you reading?
You scared the goddamn book, man. Dr. Inky. I went on Amazon and got 3 Dr. Inky books because I'm reading about melatonin and biochemistry.
daddy moments are endless. Right? Okay. All right. What else we need to talk about? My mind keeps telling me. Sometimes I just gotta look at the blank canvas on the whiteboard, and then something will start coming to me. Right? Right? Sabi is skinny. Becker was kind of chunky. Right? Respectfully. Right? Those are the goats of bioelectricity. We in the modern era. We know it started in Kemet, but in the modern era, we got to make sure we always give praise, love, respect, and reverence to Dr. Robert O. Becker and Dr. Sabi, right? For just drumming it. Dr. Sabi out in the streets, Dr. Robert O. Becker with the books, libraries, bookstores, for the readers, right? If you wasn't a reader, you didn't hear about Robert O. Becker, right? But if you was in the fitness or the health world, you heard about Dr. Sabi, right? If you wasn't in the fitness and health world and you was a reader, or you was into neurochemistry or any of those things, or neurology or any of that, you heard of Dr. Robert O. Becker, right? But yeah, neither one of them was really exercising. So they would have probably failed the test. Think about that. They would have probably failed the test. You know what I'm saying? Like if Dr. Sabi walked by and was like, well, you know what? Dr. Sabi was slim. I wonder if Dr. Sabi could have did it. I think Dr. Sabi would have definitely got the $100 for like one pull-up. But I don't think he would have been able to bust out a whole 10-piece. Because the guy that does the $100 for the one pull-up, he be disrespecting folks. I don't know if y'all ever watched this guy, but he be disrespecting folks. If you look like crazy, like he'll hit you with the $100 for one pull-up. But if you look like you in shape, then he'll be like, yo, $100 if you could beat me in pull-ups, or $100 if you could do 10 whole pull-ups. You know what I'm saying? I think Dr. Sabi's build with the shoulders and, because Dr. Sabi was tall with the shoulders. Yeah, I think he would have had to go for the challenge. I don't know if Dr. Sabi would have been able to do 10, 20 pull-ups. Yeah, that's interesting. Falling down on your knees is not the same as doing 10, 20 pull-ups. I promise you. There's plenty of folks that can drop down on their knees that cannot do 10, 20 pull-ups. Now, on the flip side, there's plenty of folks that could do 10, 20 pull-ups that cannot drop down to their knees. Yeah, there's plenty of folks that's in great shape otherwise, but they cannot. Like if what's my man name? David Goggins. If David Goggins dropped down onto his knees right now, he might not be able to get back up. Woo! All them super marathons and all that, David Goggins ain't what? I'm not even sure if LeBron James could drop down on his knees hard like Dr. Sabi used to do and get back up. So that's a whole different separate thing. One don't got nothing to do with the other. But just keep in mind, controlling your body's voltage, controlling your body's electricity is muscle, right? It's muscle. Right? Think about it like this. We could break it down a couple of ways. Right? You got right? Sometimes the old graffiti comes out of me and letters start coming together. Having these fat markers and hitting the white, like it just, I don't know. I get that writing my name and graffiti on the wall. You shouldn't have told me. Anyway, so we can look at involuntary and voluntary nerves as involuntary and voluntary electricity production. Right? So the involuntary nerves produces the electricity that your body can't live without. So you don't have to be responsible for it. You know, we're not good at being accountable for things. Humans not good for being accountable for things. We don't like accountability. So, see, that's more of that intelligent design. God already knows the creation. God like, now, if I make these folks accountable for being alive, they won't even, they'll forget to breathe. They'll forget to make their heart beat. Like they'll forget and just, so we gotta create a whole system that works without them even thinking about it. Yeah, because they might forget to breathe, forget their heart to beating. Like just let's. And then think about it on the flip side. What if your bowels was not on the voluntary control? What if your bowels was on automatic? You might be in the middle of making love and just, or you might be on the basketball court, your basketball team poop come down. So this is very intelligent design. Anyway, it's electricity that's in control of everything. Right? It's electricity in control of everything. Right? Electricity is in control of everything. So that's how we had that conversation. I forgot what book it was. Trying to think of it. It might be the hydrochemistry book. One way to find out. It might be the hydrochemistry book. Let's see. Even though I think it's in more than one book. I'm trying not to notice. No, I don't think that's in this. Yo, if you don't have this book, you smoking crack. I gotta include this in my piezoelectric, like. Oh, but it's not this book. Hold on. Let me see. It's the lymphatic immunity book. It might be one of the newer books. Yeah, it may be one of the newer books. Actually, I know we talk about it in this book for sure. Yep. but not as pronounced. This is the Food Basics book. You got to have this book. See this? This is where all this electronic, oh my goodness. There's really not enough time in the day for me to go through all these books with y'all. You gotta have these books, I promise. All right. I think it's probably in the Comedic Naturopathy series early on. Right? Anyway, we start talking about hydrogen, right, being just one proton and one electron, right? And then, right, hydrogen, just one proton, one electron, but then the proton is seen as the stationary unit, right? Right? So pretty much all of science revolves around this guy. Right? All of science revolves around this guy. Right? The primary forces, right? This guy. Right? Because this guy creates, soon as this guy moves, just by existence, this guy creates, right, the aura, right? The electron aura. Yeah, we're going to pull that word out. The electron aura, right, is an electric field, right? And as soon as that electron moves, that electric field moves with the electron, right? When I move, you move, just like that. As soon as that electric field moves, instantly there's a magnetic field, right? And these things kind of like never stop moving. So technically, I'm explaining it in a way that's not based in reality because electrons never stop moving, which means that they always have an electric field and an associated magnetic field, right? So your two forces or powers of the universe that are intertwined, which is why Kemetic science starts with duality, starts here, right? Electricity and magnetism, right? Electricity and magnetism. And because we've quantified the electron from atom, right? From atom, right? Everything starts there. But in your body, you have those two systems that kind of lays themselves out, right? Where you got heart, aorta, or the Y septum, right? You got heart, aorta, and then you got, yeah, we could just go heart, aorta, right? Because that's basically your circulatory system. But we'll go vessels, right? And then you got brain, spine, nerves, right? So this is your electric system, and this is your magnetic system. So you even have those two forces basically interwoven throughout your whole body, right? Interwoven throughout your whole body. So that's why the driving force throughout the heart and the circulatory system is iron, right? Because this is your magnetic system, right? So your heme functions with iron inside the blood and inside the mitochondria and inside the muscle, right? You don't have hemoglobin, you have myoglobin. The myoglobin also requires the iron, right? So your muscles, your circulatory system, everything associated with blood is running off of iron, right? Everything associated with the brain and the nerves and the electrical work is running off calcium. Yeah, you say calcium. Calcium, and then to a lesser extent, you got sodium and chloride, right? You got sodium and chloride. Chloride is a big player. Chloride is a big player. And you can over alkaline your body, and then your chloride will be messed up and your electricity goes down. Yeah, hold up. I want y'all to hear that. You can over alkaline your diet, right? And your chloride, because chloride is technically considered acid, right? Goes down. And your body's overall electricity production goes down. Yeah, because you need that chloride. You need that. Yeah. So that's a whole nother conversation, right? Okay. Let's keep cooking. Oh, you know what? Let's jump over real quick. Let's jump over real quick to the Batana. Right? Let's jump over to the Batana real quick. Now that we got some idea of what we're talking about. All right, let's go over here. Let's put that like that. Yeah, let's put that like that. And let's get over here. Let's see. Man, hold on. There's so much with this. Okay, so let's go. Okay, so let's talk about this. Or actually, let's go through this real quick. Let's go through the misconceptions of Batana oil real quick. Let's start with that smell. Okay. Let's go here first. Let's deal with this. Let's deal with the unpleasantries. Now, I know y'all would say to yourselves, listen, Inky, I've been getting Batana oil for several years from this guy or that guy or this little boutique in my neighborhood or whatever the case may be. And it's saturated, meaning it's solid. It's not liquid, right? So that means, see, ours is liquid. Ours is unsaturated fat. If it's solid at room temperature, this right here, look, this right here is a bottle of Batana oil. I never use it. I just keep it right here as a reminder. So I can show people this. This is the real stuff right here. When I say this is the real stuff, this is what folks that you like, if you go somewhere, you might get Batana oil and it might come in a nice bottle with a nice label on it, right? What they not showing you behind the scenes is that they got it in a nasty bottle like this, right? Because what happens is the people in Honduras, right? They dig in the garbage to get that Batana oil, and they dig in the garbage for empty bottles. So they just take any garbage bottles, any 2-liter bottles or liquor bottles or anything that's around, and once they recook up the Batana oil and it's real hot, they pour it in a bottle. You know what I'm saying? And it's saturated fat. It's solid at room temperature, so it doesn't come out of the bottle, right? I can take some out of the bottle, and then it looks like this. You know what I'm saying? I can take some out, and it looks like that. But, yeah, and it stinks, too. You got that burnt coffee smell. The best part of waking up is cancer in your cup. Now, if my Batana oil was in a cup and you turn it over or pour it out the bottle, obviously it's going to flow because it's unsaturated fat. So that's, if you don't understand anything about saturated fat versus unsaturated fat, just know that. If it's solid at room temperature, that means it is saturated fat. If it's a liquid at room temperature, that means it's unsaturated fat, right? And for the most part, we know, right? You could look up studies and they say, oh, saturated fat is bad for you, blah, 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 right? You need to get the unsaturated fat. You know what I'm saying? Now, we do need some small amounts of saturated fat, but anyway. These are the carcinogens. This is what you smell inside the Batana oil. This is what you smell in the Batana oil. Okay? And the Batana oil is not a small secret thing. It's not a secret thing at all. Batana oil is not a secret. It is like the #1 most important product to Honduras. Honduras might not even be known if it wasn't for Batana oil, right? And it's not just Honduras. It's globally. It's all around the globe. This is no longer a secret. Remember, a part of our quest into Kemetic naturopathy is to discover where did the herbs disappear to. Remember, they say it was like 800 to 900 plants they was dealing with medicinally, but all the plants disappeared. And I keep telling y'all, the plants didn't go nowhere. The plants is right there in CVS, Rite Aid, you know. This is one of them. This is one of them. This is one of the primary plants, right? How do we know it's one of the primary plants? Well, we know it's one of the primary plants because we got the program right there. They're like, Inky, how you know? If they knew about this, they might not even have known about this in Kemet. You just think they know about everything in Kemet. What do you mean? That's how I know they know. That's how I know that they know. Yeah. Because they left us the stories and the pictures. right? I hide from the cameras. Why? Because the picture is worth 1,000 words. Yeah. They left us words and pictures, right? So we know that they knew something. They was on something, right? So just so you know, right? This is a global thing. This is not a secret thing. This is a global thing, right? This is a global thing. Right? This is a global thing here. This is not a local thing that only people in the jungles know about, blah, blah, blah. These are your largest producers right here. Your largest producers. Now pay attention, because all these numbers right here, all these numbers, and trust me, these numbers would be a lot if they was talking about a little bit. Wait, did you hear what I just said? Those numbers would be a lot even if they was talking about a little bit. What you mean, Doc? Even if they were saying that they produce 595,000 gallons of it, that's still a lot. That's a lot. 46 million, I think the number one country, 46 million. If they were saying 46 million gallons, that would still be a lot. But they're not talking about gallons. They're talking about tons. They're talking about tons. So that you understand, this is a gross domestic product. People go to war over this. That's how important this is. That's why you don't know about this. Not, at least not in the way that you should know about this, right? You don't know that this is from the apothecary of ancient Egypt that we know of as Kemet, right? Right? But that's where this is primarily from. All of your equatorial regions. All of your equatorial regions. Right? And all of these numbers are in the tons. You see that? Metric tons. And these is up-to-date numbers. This is 24, 25. These are 2024, 2025 numbers. Indonesia is the number one producer. 46 million metric tons. This is the top 10. And you see who's right there? Honduras. 500, they do almost 600,000 tons a year. And when they're producing it, right, the government takes the best stuff because it's expensive. It's expensive, but not this stuff. This stuff is not expensive. This coffee smelling stuff, this is not expensive because this is the waste product. This is the waste product. So they actually get rid of this. This is what they discard. They can't sell this. This can't pass no good test. This is not good. So they get rid of this. The local people finds that the dumb Americans and the dumb Europeans and the tourists and all that, they hear about the health benefits of this palm oil and they want it. So they grabs all of the stuff that's lying around and they sell you that, right? That's what smells like the burnt coffee because it's the waste. And trust me, there's plenty of waste to go around when you're making 600,000 tons. Oh, there's plenty of waste to go around. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's see what we got here. You see that? Just so we're on the same page. Tocotrienol, not tocopherol. Tocotrienol. This is important. Vitamin E, tocotrienol, or alpha tocotrienol in brain health and disease. A growing body of research supports that members of the vitamin E family are not redundant with respect to their biological function. Palm oil derived from Elias guineus represents the richest source of the lesser characterized vitamin E, A-tocotrienol, one of 8 naturally occurring and chemically distinct vitamin E analogs. Alpha tocotrienol possesses unique biological activity that is independent of its potent antioxidant capacity. This is important. This is important for you to understand, right? Because palm oil is the richest source of the vitamin E family. It's rich in vitamin A as well, right? But primarily the tocotrienols, which is not even in synthetic vitamins. If you go on a search to buy synthetic vitamin E, 99% of what you're going to find out there is going to be tocopherols, right? So vitamin E consists of 4 tocopherols and 4 tocotrienols, alpha, beta, theta, and delta, I think. Don't hold me to that. I think. Don't hold me to that. Right? I think. Don't hold me to that. Okay, hold on. Vitamin E is a group of 8 compounds related in molecular structure that includes 4 tocopherols and 4 tocotrienols. The tocopherols function as fat-soluble antioxidants, which may help protect cell membranes from reactive oxygen species. Vitamin E is classified as an essential nutrient for humans. Guess where vitamin E does its magic? Yep, mitochondria. Tocotrienols are plant-derived natural products belonging to the vitamin E family of diterpenoids. They exist as 4 isomers: alpha, beta, gamma, and delta. Okay, so that's where I got. I don't know where I got theta from, but alpha, beta, gamma, and delta, each differing in number and position of methyl groups on their chromanol ring. Tocotrienols are distinguished from the closely related tocopherols by their side chains. Tocotrienols have 3 unsaturated isoprenoid double bonds, whereas tocopherols have a fully saturated side chain. Tocotrienols are compounds naturally occurring in some food sources, the richest being palm oil, but to a lesser extent, rice bran oil, barley, oats, and certain seeds, nuts, and grains. The oils derived from them. Get it? I bet you didn't know they first discovered vitamin E from rubber trees. A major site of oxidative damage is the phospholipid bilayer of biomembranes, with formation of peroxyl radicals and activation of a peroxidative cascade. That means that inside the membrane of the cells, right? So think about it. Whenever you have water molecules shifting, you're going to have peroxide production, right? So think about it, how it goes. Regular water is H2O. And then the water in your cells is H3O2, right? So right in that middle phase is where you, right? Oh, I done wrote this. I'm going to take this down. Right? So think about this. Right? Think about it like this. Right? Think about it like this. You are not the one. Where is my mark? Is that you? Is this you right here? Did I just drop you down here? Because I just had a good marker. We was cooking. Is this you? No. Man, what I did to my nice good marker. Is this you? Let me see. You, this ain't you. You can go that way. Okay, this is you. All right. So you got H2O, right? You got H2O, and then in the cells you got H3O2, right? So you see how there's a transition missing, right? H2O2, right? H2O, H2O2, and then H3O2, right? So this is water, right? This is closer to a gel. And then this guy right here in the middle, this is peroxide. Yeah, this is peroxide, H2O2, right? So one of the things that melanocytes do is melanocytes make an enzyme called catalase, right? And catalase turns peroxide back into H2O and then a separate oxygen, right? So it frees up oxygen inside your body. So catalase makes oxygen. Your body makes oxygen. Outside of you breathing, your body's making oxygen, right? But that oxygen is not necessarily getting to the heme. So that's why you still feel out of breath, even with your body making trillions and trillions of these per second, right? But so anyway, remember my drawing with the vitamin E inside the membrane, because inside the membrane, you got peroxide making in there, right? All right. That's the peroxidative cascade. The main antioxidant in the mitochondrial membranes is the lipid-soluble vitamin E that can react with peroxyl radicals faster than the molecules of polyunsaturated fatty acids, thus protecting mitochondrial membranes from excess oxidative damage. Vitamin E supplementation can increase the vitamin content in mitochondria, protecting them from dysfunction due to increased oxidative damage. In the present view, we summarize the available data concerning the capacity of vitamin E supplementation to protect mitochondria from oxidative damage and hypothyroidism, a condition characterized by oxidative stress. Okay. Here's another article for you. Vitamin E supplementation in mitochondria in experimental and functional hypothyroidism, a mini review. Mitochondria are both the main sites of production and the main target of reactive oxygen species. Those are free radicals. This can lead to mitochondria dysfunction with harmful consequences for the cells and the whole organism, resulting in metabolic and neurodegenerative disorders such as type 2 diabetes, obesity, dementia, and aging. To protect themselves from reactive oxygen species, mitochondria are equipped with the efficient antioxidant system, which includes low molecular mass molecules and enzymes able to scavenge reactive oxygen species or repair the oxidative damage. In the mitochondrial membranes, a major role is played by the lipid-soluble antioxidant vitamin E, which reacts with peroxyl radicals faster than the molecules of polyunsaturated fatty acids, and in doing so, protects membranes from excess oxidative damage. So vitamin E, right? So now hopefully it's clicking. Hours and hours of talking, hopefully it's clicking like, oh, so all that mitochondria talk, that was part of the Batana talk, because the Batana is the rich source of vitamin E, and the vitamin E is what allows the mitochondria to do their thing. And even last night, when we was talking about mitochondria failure or dysfunction creating cancer cells. Hello, is this thing on? It's the vitamin E shortage. But the vitamin E shortage started with everybody getting scared and panicked because they find out vitamin E too much causes cancer, but it really doesn't. It's them fake pills, right? With the synthetic vitamin E's, right? People are taking synthetic vitamin E and they're not eating real food. They're waking up and they're going to get a big breakfast from McDonald's with 1,500 calories. Then at the afternoon, they're going to have, pasta, whatever, or, a Subway sandwich, right? And then for dinner, they're going to get an order of Chinese food. Like, they're not having real, actual food. So they're not actually getting real vitamins and nutrients in. So this is the whole purpose of having multivitamins and fake vitamin pills and all that you could buy at other places. And some people that don't know any better, they say, well, ain't herbs the same thing? No, it's not. Herbs is like food in a capsule. Herbs is not the same as a synthetic vitamin pill. Right? A synthetic vitamin pill is something that they made in the laboratory, fake, to mimic the behavior of a real thing. Right? So they'll make a synthetic thing in a lab to mimic natural vitamin E or A or whatever the case may be. It's not the same as eating oats or having the palm oil or whatever the case may be. All right? It's not the same. So as we start to get away from natural food, we start to have these problems associated with not having the stuff we're supposed to have in there. All right, so let's see this here. What is this? This is another article. Yeah, this is another article. Right? Vitamin E regulates mitochondrial hydrogen peroxide generation. Right? The mitochondrial electron transport system consumes more than 85% of all oxygen used by the cells, and up to 5% of the oxygen consumed by mitochondria is converted to superoxide, hydrogen peroxide, and other reactive oxygen species. Now, superoxide that's why your body makes an enzyme called superoxide dismutase, right? If you ever been in the vitamin shop walking around, you probably seen that, or the person that worked there probably tried to sell it to you. You might not have known what it was and told them you don't need that, right? SOD, right? Superoxide dismutase. There's two types of that. One of them is copper. Wait, is one of them copper and one is manganese? Or it might be one of them is zinc. Okay, so it's a couple of different types of this enzyme, right? And it's three main minerals that goes with it. It's zinc, copper, and manganese. But I don't remember how the breakdown goes. Yeah, I think it's copper is in both types, but one type has zinc and one type has manganese. Or either zinc is in both types and one has copper, one has manganese. Anyway, yeah, there's that. Right? Vitamin E. The present studies were undertaken to test whether a direct link exists between vitamin E and the production of hydrogen peroxide in mitochondria. In the first experiment, mice were fed a vitamin E deficient or sufficient diet for 15 weeks, after which the mitochondria from liver and skeletal muscle were isolated to determine rates of hydrogen peroxide production. Deprivation of vitamin E resulted in approximately 5-fold increase of mitochondrial hydrogen peroxide production in the skeletal muscle and 1-fold increase in liver production when compared with the vitamin E supplemented group. Grand opening. Grand closing, right? So go to AmericanHealer.website now and order your Batana oil before it's all gone. All right. Okay, we talk about the. All right. In ancient Egypt, the palm tree was a symbol of resurrection and eternal life. The ancient Egyptians believed the palm tree represented the god of creation, Atum. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, and then we got the palm columns of Sahur from the Old Kingdom. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Y'all don't need that information. Okay, y'all don't need all that. Right, then we got the breakdown, so you know how our Batana oil is, different from everybody else's joint. Right, we got the breakdown. Right, we got the full breakdown. Right, we got the full breakdown on what our, well, you talk about everybody else's Inky, so what's how yours, what's in yours? We got the whole program right there. Right. Okay. Okay, then we start doing too much. We start going even crazier. Yeah, we start going even crazier. That might be too much.